Welcome to the Stone Table. This isn't a stage, it's a gathering place. Here, lifters of all kinds bring their stories. The heavy, the honest, and the hard-earned. Real voices, real weight. Shared like a good pour among friends. Recorded in Ontario, Canada, and open to lifters everywhere. Slanche.
Welcome back to the Stone Table Podcast. I'm your host, Rebecca Innes, and today I'm sitting down with someone whose resume in the stone world takes us pretty much all over the place. He's been to Ireland, Scotland. I think he's done a few stone tours or lifts around the US. And not only that, he's big into bar bending. And how we met was our love of hydrangeas back in about 2022, and our love for Smash and Pass t-shirts. Yes, big shout out to Smash and Pass. I'm sure that we'll talk about them later on in the episode of how that relationship came to fruition.
Yeah, it's tied right into my stone lifting. So.
Mark, welcome. It's been long overdue. At least 3 years. We've been chatting and passing each other in the Instagram hall. Welcome to the podcast.
Glad to be here.
So before we settle in, like I do with every guest, I ask what we're drinking.
Okay. So I haven't actually been to Iceland yet, but my next 2 stone tours are Iceland. So I've got a shot of Barevan, and then I'm going New England Stone Tour. So I've got American Yuengling, which is the oldest brewery in America. So we're going to
awesome. And I am drinking Mortlach, the Beast of Dufftown. And I figure,
that's a heck of a name.
Right?
I think it's called Black Death. This has a cool name.
Well, I figure that this is going, you are kind of, in my world, the beast of all things, bar bending and stone lifting. So this is why I picked it for tonight. So sláinte. All right, let's get right into it. For those that don't know Mark, your handle on Instagram is
MarkHob42.
And that's essentially
42. Yep.
That's how I know you. And your real name is
Mark Johnson.
So I guess then let's start at the beginning of your stone origin story. So you're in the Highland Games, you are throwing there. You have Scottish heritage?
A little bit. I've got some Scot Irish in me. So, colonizer blood, Armstrong clan. I think the one ancestor we know about is she was like a housekeeper. So yeah, a little bit, but not really. Mostly I'm Swedish and Norwegian. As I always like to say, a Johnson married a Johansson in my family. So really diversified things.
Oh my God. Okay. And so where does stone lifting begin for you? Were you lifting before the Rogue documentary, or did the Rogue documentary initiate it for you?
That initiated stones for me. I was lifting, I was doing powerlifting and Highland Games and some like Olympic stuff. I can't remember when I started doing some like strongman training, but it was nothing serious. But yeah, like before I went to Scotland to do the Dinnie Stones, I think my like Atlas Stone PR was like 200 pounds. Like it was relatively small. So no, I didn't do basically anything with stones. I was just doing Dinnie Stones, and that's how I got into that. But when I was in Scotland, I was like, there are these other stones out there. So I trained. I think I had an injury at the time because I was planning to do more stone training than I ended up doing. And I sprained my SI joint. So I didn't really do anything with stones. So I did the Puterek, and that was the only one that I did there. I was actually invited to do the Inver Stone, but I was like, I'll get it next time. So I missed out on meeting June, unfortunately. But so I was at the Puterek, the restaurant, to do the Dinnie Stones, and Levi of Smash and Pass was there. He was the other person doing the stones that day, and he was like, "Hey, we're gonna swing by the Inver Stone, at the cottage and, go say hi to June and lift the stone. And then she was in the documentary, so I knew of her, right? But I was with my family and, we had other stuff going on in our trip and everyone had just watched me, lift a rock for a couple of hours. So, I passed on the
You had to
opportunity.
pass, yeah. You had to pass on that due to, likely crying children, which I am
Yep.
all
So,
too aware of.
yep. So, but I
Well,
did go back when I went back to Scotland in 2024. I did get the Understone then. So,
okay, so let's just rewind a little bit and let's talk about your Dinnie prep. And so you touched no natural stones during that time. It was
not a
all
single
just
one.
Dinnie and
I had
weightlifting.
I had the pins.
Okay.
That's what I did
What
all.
pins did you have? What pins did you have?
The Killer Strength Scotland ones,
Okay,
the
you got them.
originals.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you got them before, unfortunately, you passed. Yeah. So,
yeah,
uh,
and the man, I just remember how cheap international shipping was back then.
right? Oh my
Crazy,
gosh. Yeah,
Like I think all in they were like $60. It was crazy.
wow. So you got the pins, and this was how many months out were you?
I got them in the winter, so I started training about 6 months out. So I got them in the winter, and my lift was in June. So I'd say about 6 months because I remember getting them and it was wintry out, just like it is now.
Okay, and talk to us about your prep. Like, how did you, in a 6 month period, your deadlift base was what at the beginning, would you say?
Just about 500 pounds. The very first day when I was going to start my prep, I went to the gym and tried out because you have to show a video of you, deadlifting 300 kilos in some fashion. So I went to the gym and did a trap bar deadlift from like 18 inches or whatever, and I got that. I lost a bunch of skin on my hand, but I got that. So I had a good solid deadlift base, but I was pretty skinny. I was like 210 pounds back then
Wow.
and didn't do anything with grip. That was
Okay.
definitely the issue. So hired a coach. Shout out to Lift Big, Eat Big, the old one.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And so I was doing Dinnie's. I was alternating Dinnie's like heavy singles and then like heavy triples to sort of deload once a week. And then lots of deadlifting, lots of squatting and that sort of thing. But my grip was way behind. And so what happened, I mentioned I sprained my SI joint during that prep. And that stopped me from doing Dinnie lifts. But what I was able to continue doing was grip stuff. So I could still do one-handed lifts with the rings. So I did a lot of grip then. And that's also how I got into grip because I bought my own little grip stuff so I could do grip workouts at home because I was way behind on. Because like I felt like I could lock it out with straps
Right.
no problem.
Yeah.
It was just can I hold on to it? So that was the main focus, and I really like that. And I recommend that training to anyone who's attempting the Dinnies is work in like one-handed pin work.
Hmm.
I think that your grip, and I think one of my philosophies, like even if you have like a 415 the big stone, like grip, if you can get your grip stronger, like if you can get a 500-pound like ring lift, the whole lift is going to be easier. Like I think if the body is straining in one part of the lift, every part of the lift is going to be
Is
harder.
right.
And I think that translates to natural stones too.
And so 6 months is a pretty short window of prep, right? Would you say? Like, did you feel that or?
Yeah, I'd say I definitely. So I never hit full weight in training. I hit 700 total pounds and they weigh about 715 or 733 or so. So I was right there, but I never hit the full weight in training. Um, I'll also say to anyone listening that the real stones are easier than the pins because it's sort of like using a deadlift bar versus using like a straight bar because the pins the whole weight has to come up at one time, whereas the real stones are uneven, so you can they start moving a little faster. So I do think
Mm-hmm.
the real stones are a little bit easier than the pins, but yeah, because like I said, I started with nothing. Like my first lift was like 300 pounds total, like between the two stones,
Right.
and I just like did holds with them. So yeah, I had a good strength base. Like I said, I was deadlifting 500 pounds, but the grip was way behind.
But the pins are a must investment, like in my view. I mean, I've not lifted the Dinnies, but I do have the pins. I have the Cerberus and I have the
Great
Rogue.
to train.
Very different. Very different.
Really?
And
I've actually I've
yeah,
seen the Rogue One, but I remember the Rogue Ones have.
Rogue ones are much thinner. Like they're nothing like the Cerberus ones. I use them for my walking stone prep because I find that they're a bit thinner and they're more like what you would encounter in a walking stone event. So I
Yeah,
use,
the Dinnie sizes are non-standard, like
yes,
thicknesses. Yeah,
very, very thick. Your advice would be, yes, to invest in the pins,
definitely.
right?
It's
Okay.
if I mean honestly, side by side or straddle. I'm a big straddle lift fan. If you're doing the straddle lift, it's not like anything else that you can like. The best you could do is like a Jefferson or something in the gym. But even so, like just the way the individual sides torque you, and you have to hold your torso because it's a lot more like oblique than you would
Mm-hmm.
think, and just like torque on your body. So yeah, I highly recommend the rings. And they're not. Everything's more expensive now, like we just complained about, but like they're not crazy expensive. And I've never had a commercial gym complain about me bringing them in. So I think it's a worthwhile investment for someone who's doing any kind of um, ring lift, and also just as a lifter. Like that was the thing that really has blown up my traps the most was
Mm-hmm.
sort of heavy individual holds. So I'm a big fan of that. So anyone who just wants to work on their physique, I like that for your traps.
And so did I catch that you trained the lifts twice a week?
I was trading Dinnies once a week.
Well,
I
okay,
had
good.
one.
Okay.
I had one Dinnie day. I was lifting 4 times a week then. I had one Dinnie day, one deadlift day, one squat day, and then one upper.
Yeah, because I was just saying to Jamie McGregor, who you know, I will get, I'm sure we'll talk about him later.
Definitely, he's a big part of my stone journey.
But I was saying I've got uh, handled walks, like or walking stones, into my program again, and I put them in for the first time in well over a year and a half. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I remember this blows up my CNS. I can only do this once a week, and we're going to have to take it slower because I remember when I was doing it, when I first did the walking stones a few years back, it I would just push through it and I would push through all the things. If you've lifted ring stones, you know what I'm talking about. And I don't know if I got smarter over this last 3 years or just older or what, but I just have listened to say, "Hey, like I can only do this once a week and I'm going to do it the best I can and I'm going to go slower." What are your thoughts on that? Like do you feel that it blows up your CNS as well?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know, it's something about the rings, like, because yeah, I did when I was prepping for my 2024 trip to Scotland, I did the Donald Dinnie Games there, and yeah, the nickel stone carry was one of the events,
Mhm.
and I had to treat that as a main lift, not an accessory lift,
Yes.
right? So that was
Yes.
the primary lift of the day, and then everything else was light after that. Um, yeah, it beats me up. It's like the grip wasn't crazy at that point. My grip was stronger by then, but like just the way holding the two individual weights, I think just tears you up in a different way. And then s- those stones and pins, especially pins, really suck to walk with because they're
Yes.
rolling all over, and you have to like hold them really still. And yeah, it's super different than farmers. Like that's for sure.
Okay, do you so I remembered, oh, put on my knee pads down around my calves. Do you do that or not? Do you go hardcore?
I went hardcore in training, and then on the day of, I was like, I'm just not gonna roll up my knee pads and see if anyone says anything.
Yeah.
And no one said anything. So,
Yeah.
but
I
in
don't know.
training,
I think it's great.
like I do use bumper plates on the bottom, so it's
Okay.
not.
As
So I'm
bad.
not using metal or top, whichever one runs into your leg, and so that way I have something there. Because yeah, otherwise because it beats you up. Like I mean, that's a big part I think of like stone training in general is that I'm not trying to get hurt in training. Like if wearing gloves in training means you can train more, do it. Like I'll wear sleeves, I'll do like zerkers, and I'll wear elbow pads because if I tear up my skin, like that's gonna affect me the next week, and then in
Yes.
a couple of weeks, if I've got big bruises and gashes all over, I'm not gonna be able to train, right? Like, I think, I mean, toughness is an important part of the sport, because they're hard, they're sharp, but I don't think you really need to like lean into that in training. Like the stones suck even if you've got the knee pad on, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It still
yeah,
hurts, but you're saving your skin.
yeah. Okay, so as I'm listening to you tell us about the life of a stone lifter, it sounds absolutely wild, and yet I'm in it and have been in it. Was your
I mean, steel
yeah,
steel bending, let me tell you, that's the look at those.
yeah.
Awful.
Would you say, like, how was your family or community supportive of this? Because, like, listening to you say it, now I realize how odd it does sound slightly. Or were they simply amused? Because you go from weightlifting into picking up these 2 pins week after week after week in the gym. Like, what was the response to that?
Well, so my gym is great. I worked at
Okay.
shout out to Los Campeones. It's a hardcore gym in the Minnesota area. Phenomenal gym. Like there were people there that recognized what I was doing, and not a single person. It's not a weird thing to do at all there. It was very. So my gym was super supportive. Like I asked them the first day if I could bring the pins in. Like, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, why are you talking? Of course, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
And then like my family, my ex-wife was little less than supportive, but like my parents and everything, like they also grew up again doing it. They brought me to the Highland Games as a kid, right? So
Yes. Yeah.
they really understood and they were a part of the trip and everything. So I kept my gym time separate from my family time,
Right.
which, but so like no one really knew what I was doing, but they also, were got a trip to Scotland out of it, and just had to spend half a day watching me lift rocks, right?
Yeah. So, okay, would you say that, like, there's some part of your personality then is predisposed for you to do this kind of stuff? Like this suffering, this travel? Or did you kind of grow into the suffering part?
So like I don't think I like to get hurt. Like, I don't think it makes you, macho or tough, or like I said, I wear gloves like during all my training in the winter, right? So I have lots of videos of me wearing gloves. I'm a big fan of gloves in the gym, which is, the standard, gym wuss thing, right? So no, I don't think that that's part of it. I mean, what drew me to stone lifting more than anything else was like the stories and the history of it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like I really wanted to be one of the first 100 people to lift the Dinnies. I ended up at 118,
18. Yeah.
because 2019 is when it really started to like. That was the first summer where it really started to take off. Just a ton of people, because that was right after what Lee Holland Keene's
Yes.
lift,
Yes.
right? So it really started to take off in popularity then.
Thank you for mentioning her, because can we just divert there for 1 second?
Absolutely.
Because I really want to have her on the podcast, because she is one of my main reasons I got into stone lifting and thinking that things were possible for me. And I really do think that the more that I'm looking at this, is that there are a number of things that have got people into stone lifting. One was the Stoneland documentary, as you said, COVID. And I am thinking more and more that seeing Leigh Holland Keane as the second woman after Jan Todd lifting the Dinnie Stones really sparked a fire for people to say, hey, like, this isn't within the realm of possibility for me. And why can't I try it too? What are, like, I am so glad that you mentioned that. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think that was was that
It
at
was the second. It wasn't the first yet.
28? Was it 2018?
Yeah, it was 2018. Because again, in
Yeah.
29, because that set off a lot of people doing it in
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah.
And yeah, she went. I mean, she went viral, right? She went outside
Yes.
of the lifting community, right? So there
Yes.
was like, I think people sent me, because again, I was talking about the Dinnie Stones, right? I think I got sent that video like a dozen times by different people,
Right?
which is great. I loved it, like everyone. And yeah, so she went viral beyond that, and yeah, I think gave a lot of people the realization that you could just like do this.
Yeah.
Um, and then
So big props to Leigh Holland Keane. Love her.
Emma Jean did it
Yes.
without straps, like
Yes.
in March that year, because I talked to her and got some advice on how to get ready for them. And so yeah, like I think women really spearheaded, I think, the sort of like
resurgence.
popularity of the
Yeah.
Dinnies, or like, like
Yeah.
like I said, that's what really kicked off just the number of people who lifted it.
Yeah. I think
Because
that is super
Stoneland had been
cool.
out for a couple of years by that point, I think.
Yes. Yeah. I think that is so cool that you mentioned this and that it didn't I wasn't that initiated this, but I have thought more and more of this the more people I speak to, is that she did create this kind of additional momentum. And so kind of what was speaking about the momentum, I kind of want you to, as we finished off the Dinnie Stone lift, can you tell us about the day that you did it? Like, I want to get in. sh- Sure, we all know the pounds. We all know the weight that you lifted. But I want to know what was going through your mind, how it happened, all of that, so that we can tell the story of Mark and the Dinnie Stones.
I remember I was super nervous, right? Because again, I'd never hit full weight in training, right? And my coach always says, like, you don't do competition weight in training, right? Your competition weight is for competition day. But like, you still want the confidence that you could do it. Like, you traveled all this way. So I was really nervous about it. And I remember, so we drove up, we parked across the street, like the big, and I remember walking up to them, and I remember my first thought when I saw them was like, well, those are a lot smaller than I thought. And that gave me like a lot of like confidence. Oh, in my head there were these like giant like
Yeah.
rocks that you couldn't get, like 700 pounds. But I mean, they're sizable rocks, right? But like, I just remember thinking, oh, those are smaller than I thought. And that gave me a big boost. And then, so I practiced my no warm-ups in the gym for that, because what you're allowed to do, I don't know if this has changed, but at the time you were allowed to do 3 lifts of the small stone, 1 lift of the big stone, and then you had to go into it.
Okay.
And so
That's good to know.
I'd practiced that. You bring your own equipment, you can do whatever you want.
Mhm.
A lot of people bring bands. I don't do that, but so I'd practiced that, and that also was a big thing I practiced when going on my other stone tours too. I think I'm a big believer in that. And so how I prepped for that was I wanted my, like I said, I want my CNS to get ready for the grip, because that's what would wipe me out. Was my grip strong enough? And if it wasn't, that's where I would get knocked out. Because I did blackout a couple times in the gym during training.
Okay, so. Were you worried about that then? I mean, we laugh about it, but
Oh yeah, definitely. I was very worried about it. I did get lightheaded on my lift.
Okay.
So, one of my things that I prepped was I did the heavy stone with my main hand as my warm-up lift, and I hit that, and it went no problem. And then I was like, oh, okay, I got this. Like, it's gonna be no problem. But what I didn't prep for is, anyone who's ever done like a strongman show outside, lifting outside without something. So Stevie Shanks's advice, which again I would implore everyone to do, and I still do it to this day, is pick a point on the ceiling and then drive up towards that. That's how you lift your Dinnies, is you find a spot and you drive up. There's no ceiling. You're outside. And so I looked up and just immediately started to, not where you should see spots, and I was like, oh no, there's nothing to focus on. And it's like bright outside. And so that sort of impacted me. But I was like, at that point it was all automatic, right? I'd step into training, I'd step there, I did my little bounce to make sure my position was right. I grabbed the handles. That was something else I remember grabbing the handles and hearing the ring of them, that like, anyone's lifted Dinnie pins, like, that ring where the handle, like, the ring bangs into the handle.
Yeah.
And it sounded exactly the same. And I was like, oh, okay, I've done this. And then I picked it up and it felt exactly the same in my hands, like the same height, same everything. And I'm like, great. So at that point, I was just going through the same motion that I'd done, 100 times in the gym, and then got it. And then, like I said, at the top, I did get a little lightheaded. I wanted to hold it for as long as possible. But I started to get lightheaded and I dropped them. I'm pretty predisposed to getting lightheaded, so that's something I was expecting. I did drop them, unfortunately, which you shouldn't do, but
And so, how did you feel?
Things happen on game day.
Yeah, things happen on game. You can't give things. You can't give nice things to strong men, really, or something like that.
The reason you don't drop them on purpose is because some people are going to drop them on accident, and so if you can, you should take care of them.
Yes. And so you finished the lift. You're a bit lightheaded. What was do you remember the immediate sensation, the
It was a
immediate
big
feeling?
there was a big crowd of diners. So everyone who was in the restaurant, just like normal everyday Sunday, because it was Sunday, which they don't do anymore, but at the time you could book it. And so it was Sunday roast, and so there were a bunch of people at the restaurant, and everyone had come outside to watch.
I love
And
it.
so I had a really good crowd of people like clapping and saying good job.
That is so amazing. I love that
So I love
experience
that.
for
No, that
you.
was great. I love that.
So
And then
that sealed off your Dinny experience, and then you went to do Putrack after that.
I did that on a different day on the
You
trip.
did it on a different day, okay. And so that was it then for historic stones in Scotland. You went, you did
Mm,
the Dinnies, you did the
no.
Putrack.
Well, those are the ones I lifted.
Oh, tell me more.
So I am the person who rediscovered the McGregor Stone.
What?
Yeah,
Stop! Stop!
yeah,
I did not know this.
yeah,
I did not know this. How?
yeah. So we just happened to stay at the Luab Hotel. That was just where we booked it because it was on the way up to Bankery. And there was just a big round rock in the car park. And I was like that, I've been doing a lot of stones, been doing a lot of stone training. I'm like
Oh
that's
my
got to
god.
be a thing. Like
Oh my god.
it's just it's the exact right size. It's just by itself. So I asked the owners, and they just at this point they were the new owners. I think they had owned it less than a year at that point. They're still the owners, and they were like, oh yeah, the old owners talked about that stone. There's a picture of some people like sitting on it from the 50s, and they pulled out this old picture, and yeah, there's a bunch of people from the 50s and they talked about, and they were like, oh yeah, it's got to weigh like 400 pounds.
Okay, this is and so okay, I had no idea about this whatsoever. And so you find this stone, they're telling you all about it. How did you make the connection to the McGregors?
So this I've never told anyone. This is how it got its name. So the owner of the guy who owns it, God, I wish I knew his name, but the because it's a husband and wife couple that own the Luab. So he owns it, and he's a character. He's a lot of fun. He was he got making fun of us for getting excited about cows. He was the best. He's the great. And he was really, because that's where we stayed when I went to the Pudarek, and so he was like really excited about Rob Roy McGregor's like grave. He's like, oh yeah, it's right over there, because I think that's the nearest tourist attraction of their hotel. So he was like really into it, like, oh yeah, you got to go visit it. This is McGregor territory. And so I was like, and so as part of I was like, so as part of the discussion of the stone, I was like, oh yeah, it's got to like. He's like, how much do you think it weigh? I didn't pick it up, by the way. I sort of rolled it. And I'm
Okay.
like, I don't know, like 300 pounds. Like, oh, he's like, oh no, it's got to weigh like 400 pounds. Like,
Of course,
yeah,
this is
okay,
how
you bet,
stone
bud.
stories go. This is how
Yep.
stone stories
And
always go.
so and so I was like, all right, well, does it have a name? Because we're talking about the history of it. And just without hesitating, he replied, it's the Rob Roy McGregor Challenge Stone. And he made that up right on the spot. There's no question about it. And so that was eventually shortened to the McGregor Stone. So it's McGregor territory, but yeah, no, he just
Of
whipped it out
course.
of nowhere to name it after the grave. So shout out to
Uh,
him. So that's how it's got its name.
okay. Like, I'm not sure which I like better in the story. I'm sorry, your Dinny lift sounded pretty amazing, but I am kind of excited about the fact that you found the McGregor Stone. And so then what did you do after that to ensure that
So I tried to lift it.
okay.
And I didn't prep natural stones, and what we found out it weighs like 280 pounds. It was really fun because I asked them if they had. So I was so I was in the car park, like I mentioned, and there was some old glass there because someone just like broken a window or something and it hadn't gotten cleaned up yet. And so I
Oh
had to like
god.
roll it away from the broken glass. And I asked them if they had chalk because I didn't bring any chalk because I wasn't planning on doing any stones. And so they got like a piece of blackboard chalk. So I'm like crushing it up, trying to get it didn't move off the ground.
Oh
And
my god.
so then when we got back, eventually I reached back out to James Graham,
Okay. Yeah.
who ran Old Man and the Stones.
Yep.
Rest in peace. It's a great
Hmm.
website. Hope it comes back.
I really hope it comes back too.
And he visited them during COVID, when things started to open up a little, and talked to the owners, got the picture. added to their list. And so he was the first person, maybe since the 50s, who knows? That's part of the joy of stone lifting, is maybe someone lifted it in the 70s or something. We'll never know, right? That's part of it.
Yeah.
So he became the first recorded person to lift it. So I'm kind of glad that it was a Scotsman who like lifted it, right?
Yeah,
It belongs to them. So
I think that is super, super amazing. Okay, so please tell me that was the last stone then on that particular tour.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
that was the last stone on that tour.
Yeah, that's I'm not sure how any of the rest of your stories are going to beat it, but I have a feeling they will. So you
No,
come
that's a
back.
pretty good one. Pretty good one.
It was. You come back to Minnesota and you get the stone bug. Is that how it went down? Is that you're like, I'm starting to lift natural stones, or?
So I ended up so I hurt my foot during this trip, and then I went back to York later for a friend's wedding later that same summer, and just that entire summer walking on cobblestones in crappy shoes gave me plantar fasciitis, and so I did a powerlifting meet, and then because I wanted to just do static stuff, I don't want to move on my foot, but at that point I wanted to start doing strongman. I don't know, because yeah, stone lifting and that sort of thing, and so I was like, all right, I want to do strongman, but then I hurt my foot, so I couldn't, and then COVID hit, and I actually didn't participate in was Sean Urquhart had a stone competition, so I actually didn't do that, but they did do the virtual Donald Dinnie game, like the virtual gathering.
Yes.
Yep, and Smash Pass did the shirts, so I got the virtual shirt for that, the blue one, and my buddy and I basically put together like a virtual, like our own Donald Dinnie games, like we did the throw, we did the Dinnie lift, we went down to a river and picked up a natural stone. So I did train for stones then, and that sort of and then I also wanted to like carry the nickel stones.
Yes.
And I wanted to do it like the length of the bridge. That's not like a thing, but I was like, that's a good destination to carry it to. That's a good length to carry it, is length of the bridge. So I also was training carries then. So that was again during COVID, because I didn't have a lot in my gym at that point, but I did have my Dinnie pins. So I was able to do some of that training. Picked up some weight plates from folks, and so that's a big reason why that was part of my training. And then after that, it just sort of I started liking stones, and so that's sort of like I started doing more research into them, and I was like, all right, I want to be able to get more natural stones, and like I really want to be able to shoulder the McGregor Stone. That was a big thing that I wanted to do, and when I go back to 2024, I can talk about how that went. So I was like, so that's when I started doing stones and sort of getting into stones. But my training was still pretty generic strongman, I'd say, up until I started prepping for the Donald Dinnie games in 2024. That's when I really, I guess, like narrowed my training. Like I sort of, so I'm entering my late 30s.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of like, you know what? I want to lift what I want to lift. Right? Like I'm never going to be a good presser.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to press.
Yeah.
I mean, I still do it for, balance and whatnot. But but that's where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do the lifts I want. I'm going to train for what I want to train for. Like, I don't need to try and train for, competitions or like to be good at these other things that, you're supposed to be good at. Like, I just want to do what I want to do. And so I sort of, not retiring, but like, I'm just going to, screw it. I'm just going to train what I want to train. And so that's when I started really getting into stone training and like just ring training and some bending. And, I still, like I said, I keep a well-balanced program, but, I'm never going to straight bar squat again. I don't need to do that.
So you got back, you're doing all the things, you're, continue to do strongman. You don't do straight bar. I'm assuming it's SSB.
I do SSB. I'm a huge fan of the cambered bar, the one with the low thing. Like my main squat, and I do squat, I love squatting, is cambered bar box squats. So I can't recommend the cambered bar enough. I think it gets your upper back going, hits the posterior chain better, and I love box squats. So because you get that stop and then you get that pop out of the bottom, because which is very important for stone lifting, because you're sitting there at the bottom and then you got to pop up and generate your power from that like position. I'm a huge box squat fan.
No,
So,
I couldn't
but
agree more with that as well. And
yeah,
so
also, I mean,
yeah.
just personally, during those couple of years, that's when my marriage started falling apart and was going through divorce, and so my training really took a hit. And so getting ready, prepping for the Donald Dinnie games in 2024, like I said, doing what I wanted was a big part of like my like, hey, I'm gonna do what I want. I'm gonna like reclaim my sense of self and like, be in the gym and like do what I want in the gym instead of, what I have to. Like I managed to train through the whole thing, but it wasn't enjoyable. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do what I enjoy. Right. I'm gonna take that back for me. Right. So
And so when did Smash and Pass come into all of this? Was that before the Donald
I
Dinnie
was about to
games or
mention them. No,
yeah.
that was at my Dinnie lift. So I mentioned
Okay, yeah.
Levi was the other person to lift the Dinnies that day. He failed, but he wasn't there because I was the only person signed up for that time slot, and they're like, we want somebody else there, so they
Yeah.
got Levi. So he did it with no like prep or he attempted them with no prep or anything. So shout out to him for showing up and giving that a go. And yeah, and that was before he started Smash and Pass. We just met, and he's super friendly. Like
Yeah.
he's very extroverted, very chatty, very good at maintaining relationships. So he ended up like chatting, and so we just ended up talking training and everything for a while, talking stone lifting for a while. And then when Smash and Pass started, but the initial vision was that I was going to help do like some distribution in the U.S. But then I had a baby, and that shout out to Wes, had a baby, and that kind of you're not doing much of anything except taking care of your baby at that point. So
Yeah.
that never ended up happening, but that's how I got joined up with a team, and they're terrific, right? They're both Levi and Claire are both super friendly, and like I always say, like they're not just like my friends, like they give me a discount code and whatnot, like
Mhm.
they're actually just good looking gym shirts. Like most gym shirts are not good looking. Like we
And I
love the
think
gym, like they're actually like a good graphic designer who puts in good artwork. Like my
no,
sister is an artist, so I know some of this.
no, if you haven't checked these folks out, everyone, do check them out because I think when I put my first order in way back those years ago, 2022, I think, it was because of you. I saw you had it
Hey,
on and it
you use
was
my
the
discount code?
I did. And it was
Yes.
the whiskey shirt. I believe it was the whiskey shirt,
I love that shirt.
which is my favorite. I'd love if they could do a like a I don't know, rerun of that one. That would be
I'll
amazing. They've got amazing t-shirt designs and they did have this one and I've kept all of mine. I've had the Dinnie Stone one, I've got the whiskey one, and then I've got this Highland Throwers one, which they
I
also
love
do
that
not
one.
make
I love that
anymore.
one.
Bright
Yeah.
yellow. I love it. And I also need to replenish that one because it's got tacky and stuff all over it. But amazing people, amazing brand, Scottish backed. It's,
Right. I
like you
mean,
can't.
they could not be a smaller company, right? Like small local, like they run it out of their house,
Mhm.
all local, and like they're like they're actually like a part of the community, right? Like they do the shirts for like the McGregor games, they do the shirts for the
Yes,
Donald Dinnie games, like they are a huge part of Scottish stone lifting. Period. Like there is no other
absolutely.
brand more personally invested in stone lifting. So they're
Yeah.
terrific.
Yeah. So check them out. So then you go back for 2024. Take
Yes.
us you changed up your programming. You're focusing a bit more on stones. Talk to me about going into 2024. You're refocusing on yourself. And
Yeah.
2024
So
you're in
just sort of
Scotland.
yeah. So it's actually kind of a cute story. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna do. So it actually started as a smash and pass. Like oh, we'll all pick a day to go like lift the Dinnies. And so I just messaged Stevie to sign up for a Dinnie time, and he just like threw in the email for whatever reason, like, oh, you've already lifted the Dinnies, so you can't lift at the gathering. And I was like, well, that's no problem. But, so I'll pick a time to lift the Dinnies, sometime in July or whatever. I was like, threw out a random weekend or whatever. And then just threw in there as a joke, like, unless you can get me into the Donald Dinnie games, of course, then I'll just do those. He was like, yeah, sure. I was like, wait, what? Like, for real? I don't think I'm qualified for that, but let's do it. So that's how I got into that. I was not. I threw it in there as a joke, and it was just.
That's
I thought
amazing.
he would get the joke, but that ended up getting into it. So I was like, all right, I guess I got to train for this. And yeah, that was great. Wonderful experience. And yeah, so that's why I signed up with my new coach by then. Shout out to John Mauser, great coach. And yeah, so I just prepped for that, and that was, like I said, it's all stone related events. And I was like, yeah, this is what I want to. This is what I want to do in the gym. Like I said, I'd managed to get through my training. It wasn't like, I trained the whole time, and I liked the gym. It's a big piece of, gym isn't therapy, but it can be a part of your self care plan. And so that was a big part of my self care in general, right? That was my me time. That was something that I could do to better myself. Any day is better when I could work out. Training for those games, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to lift these stones. I want to carry these stones. This is, I don't need to do that. I don't even need to do that other stuff anymore. I can just do this stuff.
So, with my love of Scotland, I have never been to the gathering because it's never lined up in the times that I want to go. Tell me about the events. Like, take us through what the gathering is about because I hear nothing but amazing things about the day, the energy, the people, and talk to us about the I'm assuming it's 5 events, is it? 5 events and kind of how you trained for those and what they were.
Yeah, so they're all so the thing is that it's all stone lifting, right? So it's all stones or stone related events. They have a small rotation and they're always innovating on like what new events they can come up with. The year I did it was nickel stone carry, a stone front hold, a ring stone lift leading up to the big nickel stones. Um, excuse me, that was like a deadlift ladder type thing, so they would
Mhm.
get increase in weight. And then loading all the stones onto the barrels. They're always going to have that. That's sort of the
Standard.
stone run is the final event.
Yeah.
And then they debuted the like parts of a stone lift, right? So the 5 different, lifts of a stone, right? What off the ground to the lap to
Ch
chest to shoulder press.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
And so they had that event. So you had you had to do all 5 of those. So a really heavy one that you had to pick off the ground, and then, slightly less heavy one that you had to chest, and, go through all 5 parts of the lift.
That's incredible.
And I had torn my lat 3 weeks before the event. And so that was a bummer. And I didn't perform how I wanted to, but it was still an incredible event. And like I knew I wasn't gonna win. Like I'm not, I'm just not that strong. Like you have to be realistic about where you are in the world, right?
Right.
Like I know what numbers I can do. I knew what these guys were gonna do. But what I wanted to show was that I belonged on the card, right? Like I wasn't gonna roll in and get last place in all the events and have everyone just go like, why is that guy here, right? I just
Yeah.
wanted to show that I belonged on the field with them, right? And I could place, middle of the pack on a handful of events, and there was, oh, I got this close to chesting it. Like it was up here, but I was like in the middle of stepping, so I didn't count as a chest. And then I went down. I'm like, so I know if I didn't tear my stupid lat, like, because I needed like 1% more, and I would have had it. So, but regardless, I proved to myself that like I did indeed belong like at this level, right? With this caliber of stone lifter, and that's what I wanted, and that's what I got. It was just incredible to be part of it. Like it's part of history. There's David Webster had passed, but we were
Mhm.
able to honor him and his legacy of strongman in general, not just not a Scottish strongman, but like he's one of the founders of the sport. Um,
Yeah.
it's just incredible to be part of that environment.
And so who were you competing with that day? Like, drop some names here.
I know mostly the women field. That was where I think the biggest lift to come out of that day was Sandra Bradley's like a big like I was like reveal like, oh yeah, that's a real stone lifter. Because she was like the only woman to like, lift like all of the stones on the load, and it was amazing. Like her last lift was like the heaviest stone was like this real war. Like she failed to get it one time, and then the thing where you adjust it, flip it into a different position, and then get it. Like it was cinematic. It was
Yeah.
incredible.
We love Sandra Bradley, like, absolutely. She has through this entire thing over the last 3 years has supported all of my crazy adventures. And she's an amazing, amazing athlete when it comes to, well, strongman, stones, what have you. Just a very amazing human being.
Yeah, no,
So,
she's incredible. Crazy
yeah.
strong, crazy competitive.
So did you do anything else then after you went from the gathering? Did you do any
Yeah, so
historics at
I
that time?
did. Yeah, so I did a whole tour then. So
Okay.
I had attempted as I alluded to earlier, I attempted the McGregor Stone because I really want
Yeah.
to shoulder that, and I was able to get it to chest, but I couldn't shoulder it because I tore my lat 3 weeks before. And I think a lot of it, like it was pretty well healed, but it just destroyed my training. Like my peak, because 3 weeks, that's when you're really hitting your peak.
Yeah.
And I was able to not do that. I couldn't do that at all. So I think conditioning was more than like active injury. Like I didn't aggravate or anything, but couldn't shoulder that. So I got to go back to Scotland another time because I still got to shoulder that thing. So I did the McGregor Stone, and then I did a short stone tour, which is a pretty common loop, right? Like the Inver, the Dalwhinnie, the Newton Moor, the Auchernack farm stones,
Mhm.
and then the Baravian.
Okay.
So
So who were you with were you on your own first?
with my partner.
Okay, you were with your partner at the time. And one of my favorite stones is in that mix of what you spoke about, but I'm not going to mention it because I don't want to bias you. But talk to me about one of your favorite lifts of that trip and why.
So it was a weird day. So after the Inver Stone, which was its own fun little story, because the place was closed, but they opened it back up for me to try to find the book so I could sign my name, but they couldn't find the book. So I just got to
No,
look around the
let's
museum by
stop
myself.
there. Let's talk about Inver. Let's talk about Inver. So
Sure.
yeah, so you stopped there because it moved from the cottage
Yep, it
to
was at the
Braemar.
Braemar
Yeah,
Games. Yep, yep.
and you
You
stopped
can just
there to
roll up
lift
and
it.
lift it. Hmm.
And
And it was like a Tuesday, right? Because
yeah,
you're a tourist, right? So you show up when you can.
yeah.
And yeah, it was closed, but like the bus driver was there, the shuttle bus driver was there, and he watched me do it. He's like, "Yeah, good work."
Oh my
And
God.
then the elderly gentleman who runs the like museum and now is the keeper of the book came up and was like, "Oh, did you lift that?" And the tour bus driver was like, "Yeah, he lifted. I saw." And I also showed him the video I had, and he's like, "Oh, cool. Well, I'll just open up the museum quick and we'll find the book so you can sign your name." And I'm like, "Oh, great! Like I didn't expect that because they're closed on Tuesdays." And so I went in there and got a private tour of the museum, which was cool because there was the only people there. And it couldn't actually find the book. So I wrote my name on a piece of paper and the information, the time and all the information. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll add that later." And I don't know if I'm actually in the book or not because I haven't been able to double check it. But so if anyone
Well,
knows the Inver, if you could check for me, that'd be great.
I am actually, because I'm doing a little project on Inver, I am checking names right now and working with Martin Janczek's on that. And so I will look for that.
I want to say it was like August 6th, 2024. It was
Okay.
early August 2024. It was right around the Dinnie games.
Okay. I
That'd be
will look for
great if you
that.
could check
Yeah,
that if I'm in there.
I will. I will, but I definitely need your video. So send that to
Oh
me.
yeah, I'll send that.
Okay. So you've done the Inver.
And
You,
so I do the
even though you
Inver.
may or may not be in the book, we're not sure.
I start. You don't need to be in the book, right? You're still
Yeah.
lifting it, right?
Yeah.
And so then I was driving. I hit a rock in the Scottish Highlands, got a flat tire.
I got a flat tire my first time too.
It was God, those roads are so narrow,
It's
and there's
awful.
rocks on the sides, and I got a flat tire.
Where did you
I
get your flat tire?
That's a great question. Somewhere in the Highlands, I'm not going to know the name. I
Are you near
would know the
Inverness?
name. No, I was further south than that
Okay.
because it was
Okay.
between the Inver and the Newton Moor, or
Okay.
I think
Okay.
Dalwhinnie, and it was the name of a small town. It starts with a P. I
Okay.
remember that.
Okay.
And yeah, so I just drove to the nearest small town, and because my phone was working because I
Yeah.
paid for the internet, and I was like, all right, near this town, it was like 14 miles or whatever. So I'm like driving along on a flat
God.
tire, or in my rental car, right? And I get
I did
there.
the same. I did the same.
Yep. What else am I gonna do?
I know
And
there's
I get there,
nothing for
right?
people. Okay, hold on. Let's stop here. Let's let people know what actually happens on a Scottish Highland tour. You better have gas and hope to heck
Oh,
that your phone
yeah,
does
I
not run out. Like that's all I have to say.
yeah, no, I bring your battery, charge it whenever you can, and yeah, fill up your don't run your gas tank low. Like just,
No.
that's a general philosophy that I have on road trip. But like you
Oh
don't want to
my
play with
God.
fire.
Okay, so you stop
And
and you get your
pay the €10 for the or pounds for the international data plan.
yes,
Just do it. You need it.
do it. Pay for that. Okay, sage advice here from
Yeah, yeah.
travel advisor Mark.
So
Okay.
I
So
get there,
you get your tire
get to the
changed and
garage,
then yeah.
and it was great. It was only like 40 pounds. They're just He's just like, oh yeah, I'll swap it out real quick. It was great. And never told the rental company. So Hertz, don't listen to this.
Okay,
And they
I
never
didn't do
noticed.
that.
So
Huh.
I didn't tell the rental company at all. I just brought it back and I was like, they bring it up. So they can talk about it. But no one ever noticed. So
Okay,
um
another wise advice here. Travel
they
and
don't
stones.
there's no penalty, right?
Yeah.
If they
Oh my
asked, I
God.
wasn't gonna lie, but
Yeah.
I don't need to bring it up. And so I was very late to get to the next stop of my tour. But you've been to Scotland in the
Yeah.
summer, and
Yeah.
the sun doesn't set until like 11 p.m.
No.
Just
Yeah.
gorgeous long evenings.
Hmm.
So I really powered through the Dalwhinnie and the Newton Moor because I just had to get done. Ate at the Newton Moor Cafe, and then again just powered through the I think the Auchternack Stones.
Hmm.
Wish I could remember that one. But then the Baravian Stone, that one is just so cool.
Right?
So and like it's just like as you're in the middle of nowhere, right? And but it's like
Yes.
it is like a tourist spot, but like there's just nothing there. There's no one around. And
Yeah.
at this point, like it was still light out because again, it was so dark. The sun stays up so late, but it was like 10 p.m. But like it was still light out, so it was just this beautiful evening. I got eaten alive by midges. My
Hmm.
partner didn't. So like I was wearing like tall socks and like a hoodie, and she was just wearing like a dress, and they just devoured me, and they didn't touch her. So some people are delicious to midgets, and some people aren't. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So I got eaten up. She's fine. So I don't know. The advice is there, but
Take
um,
spray. Take spray just in case.
and then like that one was. I mean, that's just a super cool environment. That's
Okay.
one of the
It's my
cooler
favorite.
environments.
It's
Okay,
my
ah,
favorite.
you got the same one. Yep.
Yeah, it's my favorite. And I wish now the next time I go, I'm definitely going to do an evening version because I usually like to go in the morning, like as the sun's coming
It's
up.
I mean, the plan was to hit in the afternoon, but we do what you have to do. But it was like enchanting at night. Like again, there was nobody around. It was just sun setting. I don't know. The late Scottish evening is just there's something magical about it, and it was just an incredible. Like at that point, we were so tired because everything we were supposed to have been at the
Everything you've been
hotel like
through.
hours before, right? So
Yeah.
you're so tired, but like it's just not so invigorating, but you're just like grateful to like have been like you're not tired anymore. You're just like, oh, I'm so glad that I got to just like
Hmm.
be part of this and like do this, right?
Okay.
Like it was such a special experience.
It is. And so what I need, so, so listeners that have not been to Barevan Stone and the location. So you park your car and you get out and walk us to the stone. Like tell me about that experience because that's to
Okay,
me just as
okay,
much a part of it.
eaten by bugs.
Okay, yeah.
I put on my knee sleeves, and yeah, like well, you're like looking around and like trying to figure out the way in because
Yes.
there's this old like metal fence from hundreds of years ago,
Yeah.
and you're like walking around and like trying to find it, and you like get to the entrance and it's this giant gate, and you're like, can I go in here? And
Yeah.
there's nothing that says you can't go in there, so you go in there. And yet there's this old church and then like this grave that's just sort of by itself almost like this little field inside. And there's
Hmm.
everything. It's this adorable like handmade stone wall around it, and it's sort of by itself. And like there's the stone. It's like sitting at the end of the grave, and it's just Like there's this, like I said, there's a different aura to that because like
Right?
some of the
Okay,
other
there
stones.
is. There is. It's a different energy, a different aura, and I know it sounds woo-woo, but, like, it's true, and I'm glad you said it
No, because
because
some of
it's
the other
different.
stones are like the Aukernack sound. I wish I should have looked up the pronunciation of these. Are like they're on like a farm that's still like being used. So we really appreciate them for like holding the stones and protecting those stones. But like there's just like you can see like other people. There's a tractor parked over there, right? And like some like a work truck that's just parked right there, right? So which is great. But like you don't. Again, you're to be part of the history of these stones. But like this one is sort of like you're almost transported like oh, this is how it was hundreds of years
Yes.
ago too, right? Like
Yes.
there's nothing modern around. There's the only thing like there's another stone fence like right across the street that's just a bunch of cows, and the cows walked over and saw what you're doing because you're the only thing happening,
Yep.
and you can hear them mooing, right? And that's like it, right? It's just part of nature. You're part of this old thing, that this old
Mhm.
church. You're part of the like you really feel like the history is there as
Yeah.
opposed to just like something that's being held on to. Like it feels like you're going to the history, right, as opposed to the history coming to you. So it's truly, and a lot of the Irish stones are that way too. It's different. It's
Yeah,
different than the other
I
ones.
can't wait to go see those. But the oddest thing so the first time I went to Barevan, I was there by myself. A friend showed up later that I had met in Scotland, and she just popped in while I was there, like coincidentally. But before that, a warlock. I'm not joking. A warlock showed up and started talking to me and, just going on about like how witches had been burned there and all of this history. And it was like the timing, it was so bizarre, but you can feel the energy of that area. And it's absolutely my favorite place to go. It's my favorite stone. And again, I've lifted it, but not in a conventional way, like as a tribute, but it's like it just is an amazing spot. And if you get to go to see any of the historic stones, for me, I would recommend that. Would that be one that you would recommend, or are there
Oh,
others
for
that
sure,
you would?
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my partner, she was a witch, so we also were
Okay.
very she was very careful to help us respect the graveyards when we were in them.
Perfect. Yes.
And yeah, like that one, like of that, I mean, my favorite is going to be the McGregor, right? Because that's my
Of
stone.
course. Yeah.
But like that was the only one of the ones that I listed there where, like I said, you're sort of transported, where it's how things were. They're obviously the buildings aren't in use anymore, but like
Hmm.
it's sort of a snapshot. Like that area hasn't been changed except by time since for the last few hundred years, right? And so that to me, so yeah, of the ones that I listed there, it was different. It was different. It was a different part of the tour, and it was just like I said, doing it at the end of the day it was very powerful. It was a very good way to end the tour.
Yeah. And so after that tour, you come back to Minnesota and then you have eyes on is that when you have eyes on Ireland, or how did that start?
So at that point, I was like, so I didn't really know what did I do. Did some Highland games. I can't remember if I did another strongman show that summer or what. But I try to compete like 3 or 4 times a year, and that's or stone tour. I prep for like 3 or 4 things a year. I can't remember what
Right.
else I did that year. But at that point, I was like, oh, now I'm gonna start like leaning into these like stone tours. Like I can do these vacations for me, right?
Mhm.
And I don't know if it was the torn lat also, but I was also in my late 30s, and so I'm like, I'm talking to someone older, but I'm starting to feel my mortality like as a
Right.
lifter, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm like, I need to start doing these. Like, I took my plan was to go back to Scotland like 2 years later, and here I am 5 years later, and I finally made it back. Like I gotta do these things, right?
Mhm.
Because it's not, you're gonna run out of time. I can't wait 5 years between stone tours because I'll just run out of time, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so I was like, and this also was when David Keown was really like, he was finding a new stone every week. Like, it was ridiculous, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
the clip, and they're still finding them, but like, that was what he was just like every day you'd log into Instagram. It's like, oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. Like I was like just really pounding them out. Which, incredible. I don't think we'll never see anything like that in our lifetimes.
No.
Again, that was the greatest run since Peter Martin, right, back in the day. And so Ireland was very much on my radar, but I wasn't like gonna commit to it. Like, it's expensive. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it. I'm also very, very good at the have lift, right? So I'm very good at breaking the stone off the ground. And that's my strongest part of the lift. That I'm very good at that. Just long limbs. I'm just built for that. Less so the other parts of the lift, but that I can do.
Yeah.
So it was very much on my, like, these giant stones were really on my radar because I'm like, I can pick those up. Can't do anything with them, but I can pick them up. And then Jamie McGregor posted about a stone tour, the Irish stone tour that he was going to do.
I didn't make the connection that you two went when you did the Flag of Den.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That was us.
Okay.
And I'd just broken up with that partner that I went to Scotland with at that point. And so I was like, I'm only one person. I can afford to do this. I'll never have a better tour guide. I'll never be able to do it because you can split the costs, like with the rental car and whatnot. And I'll be able to just do stones. Like, again, great partner. Like I was able to do a stone tour and we did other things in the vacation, but I'm like, this is it. Like I just have to do stones, or I can do nothing but stones the entire vacation. Like it's going to be really for me. And so I was like, you know what? Let's do it. We just broke up. You're going to, you want some self-care. So I'm like, done. So I signed up for the stone tour with him and we did that. So that's how I agreed to do that.
That was a huge tour. And obviously, like you and I had been chatting about this before, and my favorite part of this is the Flag of Den. Can you talk about that stone lift?
Yeah, so I was with Martin Gallagher and his son Kuhn then. So that one's off the beaten path a little ways. And then you have to no one's showing a picture of this, but like you have to climb the steepest stairs in the universe to get up to it. It's not like a tall climb, like it's like 6 feet or so, but like they are the steepest stairs and they're like this wide. Like that was the most treacherous part of the tour. Was getting into that graveyard. And then it's just again, and this is unlike where the Barevan where there's like space. This is a like dense graveyard. Like you're stepping over graves, there's stuff all around you. Like the ground is uneven and it gets it had just rained a lot, Ireland. It had just rained a lot, so the ground was also really soft. And we found it, and unfortunately, because when David found it originally, it was completely overgrown. And you can see how it happens. Like it was just covered in brambles, and he had to hack his way through and dig it up. But since then, someone is maintaining the graveyard because everything was trimmed up. But unfortunately, they must not have known what the Flag of Den was because it had like scores on it. So like someone had like whatever machine they had used to clear and trim
like a
the
swirl
graveyard
cutter or whatever,
hit it, and there were like scratches on it, unfortunately. So it looked like you could buff some of them out, but unfortunately that sort of the living history, right? Like if it's just going to be sitting on the side of the street, then these things are going to happen, right? If it's not in a museum, these things can happen. So that's how. So we found it, and unfortunately had gotten scored a little bit, and then we lifted it. So it's on. So there's a small like hill right where it is. That's where he found it. So you can see like the hole that he like ripped it out of, and it's a big rock. Like it's a big one. I did not walk up to that one and go, "Oh, that's small. I can manage that."
I can do it.
It's a big
rock.
That's
smaller.
It's a big rock.
And
God. You can see the hole that he dug it out of because he just did that like last year, right? So like, well, it's like right there, and he moved it like this far, right? It's just a big rock. It's just like right next to the hole, and there's this convenient little like cliff, like not cliff, like it's a small like lip, and so that's where everyone props it up at. So all the lifts that you see people doing it's sort of leaning against you. You wrap around it, and then you just sort of lean back and get some air under it that way. Again, at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna. Like, I lifted it, so I lifted it that way. Jamie lifted it. Oh, Jamie went first on almost all these rounds. But Jamie lifted it, Martin lifted it, and then it was just us on the tour. And I was like, you know what? I want to try it half style. Like, I'm really strong. Like, I'm holding it. I'm looking at it. Like, it feels like it's got good handles. Like, I bet I can do this. Like, and so we propped it up on some little stones there to get your hands under it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have lifted it. And first person recorded to do it, like, there's legends of, people picking it up and carrying it across the street to the bar. It's no longer there. But so I'm the first person we have a video of lifting it like that. So I appreciate that.
And I've been waiting to ask you this question, but how did it feel to be the first person to lift it outside of legend, essentially? Right?
Yeah,
How does it not? How does it not?
Well, I try to be humble and like try to be like, you're just part of the history and you don't know if anyone else has done this. Like, again, part of the beauty of stone lifting, right? But man, it's cool. It's cool to have been the first person that we know that did that, right? Like, it's great. I felt awesome.
Okay, like, I know you briefly talked to us about how you put like a bit of leverage underneath of it to lift it, but can you, like, you got terrific height for
Yeah,
for
the
right?
weight.
Like,
Yeah.
for the weight.
Well,
Like,
it's so
it was
it's funny.
incredible.
So I would compare it to, like, this is where, say, way back to my theory that I mentioned about grip strength and overall strength. So I also lifted the John Long stone earlier
Yes, I
on
wanted to
that
talk about
trip.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was actually just me. So I showed up, so I had a day to my trip, so I could just drive up there to lift that one stone, because at that point, um, no one had lifted it since the 50s, back when it was first used as a jostle stone. So I was like, well, I'm gonna be the first person to do it because it had been discovered like 2 weeks before by Andy Downs, rediscovered, sorry. And so I was like, well, I'm gonna this is a chance. Like, I'm built for this. I'm gonna go do that. So I added a day to my trip to drive up there, and accidentally picking a hotel in Northern Ireland. So I've been to Northern Ireland too. It's another tangent that we don't need to go off of. And Andy met me there, and so and that stone. So that one's not as heavy as the Flag of Den,
Okay.
but it has awful handles and it's been painted white. So one hand is okay. I think it's the right hand is okay. I think it's the left hand where the only place you can grab it, like, it's super smooth. The lip is rounded, so you can't do anything with it. And so the only place you can grab it is like there's a small like crease in the stone, I don't know, 6 inches under there or something. And 3 inches, and you can hook the tips of these two fingers into it. So you're lifting. So one hand is a good solid grip, but the other hand is like the fingertips of two fingers to get it. And I lifted it, but it was, it's sort of, oh, yep, you can see by the way it shifts in the air that it was lifted. You can't, like, there's no good height on it. But it was a good lift. It was confirmed by by Andy. So
Well, I mean, you did become the first modern lifter to put wind under it. So I think
yes,
that's
yes.
pretty amazing. But
Yeah,
I do.
I was, but like, and then so yeah, so like again, that's the difference between like it and contrasting it to the Flag of Den, which has great handles. That's my favorite shape to have lift, which is a rounded square edge, because you have a nice square edge to get your hands on there, something to oomph onto, because this is your strongest hand position for stones, and you can use these fingers like that. But then it's rounded, so it's not going to shred your fingertips or shred the skin on your hand. So, because it's always going to slip a little bit when you start to pick it up. So that one just had great handles. It's got kind of a weird shape, but the balance point was pretty easy to find. And that's the other trick, is how long does it take you to find the balance point? It only took me one attempt to pull it up, and like the back half came off and the front half didn't. So you have to move your hands forward. So that one's had great handles. So that's how I got good height on that one, just because it has such good handles. So like, That's what I meant earlier about like your grip affecting the lift. Because like, my back and my, legs are just as strong as that, those are 2 days apart, right? So
Yeah.
I was just as strong, but the lift was way higher despite being heavier just because you could hold on.
And I just want to take listeners a bit of a detour here and speak about how, and this is something I just picked up when I was over last with Jamie McGregor lifting in Scotland, is that there's time spent, propping up certain sides of the stone, chalking certain sides of the stone. Talk to us about how important that is for you have to lifted both of these stones the way that you did. Because I think when I first started out in stone lifting, I just went and I tried to lift it. And I didn't even think about like, can I leverage this differently? Can I, put a little stone on the one side? Talk to us about that and how really it is permissible when you're trying to lift some of these gigantic PR type lifts, um, when you go out on tour.
Yeah, so we did a lot of propping up. Like the ground is very soft in
Mhm.
Ireland, right? It had rained and it's damp country in general, so there's lots of mud. And like, okay, I guess it's not as hardcore as like lifting it and like putting your hands like under it and getting them all muddy and stuff. But like the mud is gonna screw you up. Like the mud, if
Mhm.
you get mud on it, that stuff is so slippery, like it's not going anywhere. That's a big part of what the chalk is literally just to counteract like a lot of the dirt that gets on there because that stuff is slippery. And like it's just part like you're just trying to lift it. Like you're just part of like people 100 years ago when they were lifting it, they were going to prop it up too. The ground was just as muddy then. Mud was just as slippery then. They weren't like being super hardcore, like, oh yeah, I got to lift it full mud.
Yeah.
Like, they were
Yeah.
scraping it off and like wiping it off with their, shirts too, right? So like you're just doing what they were doing. Like everyone's just trying to lift this rock, right? Like that's the history of it. That's the challenge of it is just lift this rock, like however you can, right? And back then I'm a radical stone lift inclusionist, right? So like, when I was in New England, I was with someone and we lift the squantum tooth, and that's another big heavy rock. And they could lift like half of it. And
Mhm.
that happened back in, Ireland too, right? When everyone was gathering at a funeral to like lift these rocks. I guarantee you there were people that couldn't lift the whole thing that lifted half of it, and everyone cheered and had a good time too, right? So like so lifting it however you can with whatever tools you can is just that's what everyone has always been doing. And it might, and then there's stones that have traditions for like, particular challenge levels because you're what like some of the Icelandic stones, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
have to lift it in this style because that we're testing you to see if you can, you know, be on the fishing vessel, right? But when it's just people horsing around, lifting stones, having fun, they were just horsing around, lifting stones, having fun, right?
Yeah.
The guy who
No.
carried it across the street to the bar and back, he probably didn't, grab it in mud and like lift it onto his lap and chest it. Like he probably had help, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what I learned this year was that it's not like I felt like I was kind of like cheating the lift, but it really isn't. It's about being innovative, figuring out a way to do it so that you can actually lift the stone and be successful. And that is part of reading the stone. That's the part that Martin Jancic talks about reading the stone.
Yeah, I don't think there's such thing as cheating, right? The only time you're cheating is if you do something and then claim you didn't do it. Like if you lift it with chalk and then say you didn't use chalk. Like
Yes.
that's the only time you're cheating is now you're telling people something that wasn't true. But like if you just lift it and you say, "Hey, I lifted it," like and people should celebrate that. And I guess it's up if someone's going to be a jerk about it and say like, "Oh, you didn't lift it with, beltless and
Yeah.
with no chalk and then you doesn't count." Well, okay, people can think whatever they want, but like the rest of us, we're just out there lifting. And again, that's the history of it. It's just people getting together and lifting. That's the whole thing with the stones, right? Is that people went, I bet I can pick that rock up. Somebody else went, no way you can. And they went over there and they picked it up. Like that's it. That's all we're doing. That's the tradition we're carrying on.
and and having probably a few drinks as you go along. And so those are two lifts that of yours that I've looked back on that I thought were quite incredible. And so What did it teach you about your own strength profile? And how did it inform you about going forward in your next stone kind of adventures that you're going to take us
Yeah, so, I mean, not to continue patting myself on the back, but Jamie said that I'm the strongest person he's seen off the ground, and so, again, it's just really validating to be like, "Oh, yeah, like, I'm, like, a part of this," like, being the second person ever to do something, you're just like, "Yeah, like, that's not a lot of people to do something," like, I'm a part of this, I belong here, and, everyone belongs here, but, like, it's just so validating to be like, "Yeah, this thing that I spend hours and hours and hours and thousands thousands of dollars on,
on?
like,
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty good at it."
Yeah.
And that's a really nice feeling.
I have not been to Ireland. I do hope to go. But what surprised you
It's terrific.
most between the difference between Irish stones and Scottish stones?
Their stones are big.
Yeah.
They're just so big. And what was really cool about Ireland in particular is how alive the tradition still is. Like, oh, something I wanted to talk about was Martin Tim.
Yeah.
We just found
Yes,
the
that's
stone
right.
lifting community just found out today that he passed away a couple months ago, and so yeah, he was very much like, so his stone, Martin Tim stone. It's a big, long, smooth edged stone, kind of a pain in the butt to pick up, but like that's been his stone, and the history of that is, though he lives, it's at his house now. And then he worked at the quarry across the street, basically, and his family works at the quarry. Still worked there. He worked at the quarry all the way up until in his 80s, up until he died. So he was still working there right up until the end. And yeah, it just sort of became he picked it up. He was a young man when he found it. I want to say he was a teenager. He was like 14, and he
Wow.
just picked up this big, obnoxious stone, and then like a bunch of fishermen also picked it up, and like, and and then when things started to change down there, he just took the stone, because that was the stone that they all picked up together to show off, and he brought it to his house where he can, continue picking it up to this day. And like he did that. It wasn't his, great grandfather that did that. It wasn't someone who's like, oh yeah, I heard about people who did that. And we respect all guardian and appreciate all stone guardians, but like
Yes.
it's different because he was the one who picked it up. He was the one who first showed off with it. He was the one who went lifting with his buddies, and he was still the one who kept it at his house, right? So like
Hmm.
we went back. So when we first went there on day, I don't know, 2 of the tour or whatever, he wasn't there. He was at work, and we lifted with his nephew, who was very excited about it. He was very excited to see his like Uncle Stone being picked up, and he was very friendly. But then we came back, and then he called us, and he was there when we were coming back on the last day of the tour, so very last stone. So we took a short detour so we could meet him, and I picked it up again in front of him and shook his hand, which was terrific.
That's incredible.
But like it's different because like that was his stone, and he can tell you the story about him picking it up as a teenager, as opposed to, and then like, you know, same with, I'm not going to remember the name of it, but the fisherman's, I think it's just called the Stone of the Cove, the fisherman's stone in Ireland. And yeah, like the people there who own the land saw, like, again, the fishermen like lift the stone, and they're like, yeah, don't pick it up to your chest or anything, just pick it up off the ground, because that's how everyone lifted it. And like they remember that, they like, it's a living tradition, like they remember it being lifted, as opposed to hearing the stories from someone of it being lifted. And there's plenty of that as well, but like Ireland is different because like the history hasn't never fully died. Like it's getting
Yeah.
picked up again. And who knows how much we've lost, but like, so like that power is just so different because like the history is alive, right? As opposed to trying to reclaim it, which again we really appreciate, and we appreciate people trying to develop new history, because that's how history happens. You have to start somewhere.
Hmm.
But like it's just different to be a part of that like continued tradition, right? Like the John Longstone, like the guy who lifted it last, I didn't meet him, but like he still goes to the bar,
Oh, God.
right?
Yeah. That's incredible. And
So someone
so
told him that I picked it up, like that's cool.
That's amazing. I can hear when you speak about your Ireland tour that it like there's a lot of passion in it, and I wonder like what did that unlock in you as a stone lifter?
Just it's very cool, like I said, to just be a part of the history. You yourself are like, that's because, like I said, what's the history? Just people getting together and picking up stones and showing off for their friends. Well, that's what we're
Yeah.
doing, right? I'm picking it
Yes.
up and showing it to my friends on Instagram, and they're going, "Cool, man, that's awesome!" Like it's the same. It's the same thing, and it's very, I say, invigorating, very powerful to like be, like I said, part of that history and part of this community, and like part of the communities from the past, and like part of the communities into the future. Who knows? Again, New England, right? They're developing new stones, and they're, in 50 years from now, is someone going to go, oh yeah, and then a guy from Minnesota came and picked this up this way for
Yeah.
the first time, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? But like, even if that doesn't happen, like you're still involved in it. Your story becomes interwoven, and the fact that it's been lifted by 30 people matters. So it's very cool, and I'll say unique in the lifting world. Although I do collect vintage weights as well, so that's a, again, be part of the history of other weights too. But like stone lifting is different because you can just, anyone can go do it, and
Yes.
anyone can just go and be part of the history. You know, Even if it's lifting half the stone or rolling the stone, like that's still moving it. That's still participating in it.
Yeah.
You know,
And I
there's no
did ro
rules.
yeah, I did roll the invert, and that is my story, but that's for another day. So, like, widening the lens a little bit, you've lifted 19 stones in Ireland, 11 in Scotland, and 7 in the US. We really haven't talked about your US experience. Give me some highlights from that, and were you with the were you with the New England folks on that tour, or what tour was that?
So that was a super short. So that was almost one calendar year ago now. It was right over New Year's. So my sister lives in Rhode Island, so I was driving out to visit her. And Providence is also where Jarrett, the guy who
Yes.
runs the New England Stone Lifting, is. Another terrific member of our community. And I was just like, and I just already reached out to him, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to be in the area. I'd like to do some stone lifts. And like, I was visiting my sister, and I was driving, and I had like 50 other things to do. So I was like, hey, can we go out at like, you know, 8 p.m. or something,
Yeah.
like after dark? Because that's the only time I'll have. And he's like, no problem. He like brought these floodlights and like filmed it all. That was the first like nighttime. So I just did the ones like in Providence. So like, yeah, he invited us to his house where we met for the tour, did the ones in his yard. That's where Leg Biter is. I gotta chest that one. Going back for that one. Um, and that's also where John Lindstrom's Atlas Stone is, which actually does have some history to it. Like he's a strong man in that area, and I really want to do the one in Massachusetts, the ringed one, because that's a
Yes.
totally unique. So you think the dinnies are thick? That handle looks thick.
Mhm.
So I want to lift that one too, and yeah, that one's got a little bit of history to it. And then we just went to the local park where they have a few of the other stones, and we picked those ones up. And I was the first person to lift the Squantum Tooth half style because that's what I do. It's
Congrats.
what I'm good at. So I picked it up that way. And yeah, so it was just, and again, it was just, it's like rolled in the middle of the night, and they just opened their home to me and to lift stones, and we all went out. And, it's cold and dark as winter. It was like January, right? New England. It was cold and muddy. It was just the most friendly,
Yeah,
incredible like
they're a great
community
group.
to be part of. They're
Yeah.
terrific out there. Can't
Yeah.
recommend it enough.
Yeah,
And
really
that's
great group.
you know, and that yeah, that community is just so a part of this, right? Because I'm doing these tours with Jamie and Maxim Iron. They're filming. They filmed our Irish tour for their documentary when that comes out eventually.
So speaking
Um,
about community though, do you
hmm,
have a Minnesota group?
no,
Okay.
it's no, we don't have any local stones or anything. There's no one I really do natural stones lift. The buddy
Okay.
that I lifted the Dinnies with, he just wanted to train for the Dinnies, and we haven't spoken much since then. But there is a very good, robust, excellent Highland Games community here, and there's as you said, there's a lot of crossover between these two things, and so I'm actually in negotiations with the people who run the Highland Games and then the college to try and get a like natural stone lifting
Nice.
at the next Highland Games here. It'll probably be pretty low key. I'll just bring some rocks, put in a tent, and just have people pick them up, right?
And
Um,
that's what it is, honestly. I
yeah,
think that that's
exactly.
fabulous.
People
Yeah.
getting together to lift rocks.
Yeah.
And so we'll see. None of them are named or anything. They're just the rocks in my garage. I got to
No,
get
I
some
think it's
more.
great.
I
I
get
think
some
it's
more small ones because these are for, these are all for my training, so they're all heavier. Um, and I want people to be able to just roll up without any training and be able to pick something up, right? That's the whole point is for outreach. So I got to get some smaller ones next summer. But yeah, that's my hope is that we can start to build something here. I don't have the skill set to, I'm not a great organizer. I'm not very organized. I'm not super good at maintaining those kinds of relationships, but we can pick up some rocks and see what happens, right?
I love
So we'll
it.
see.
And
But I'm not going
so
to be I'm not going to be the Jared of the Midwest, that's for sure.
I'm not sure anybody could emulate Jarrett, but so you're going to do that with respect to organizing community stone lifting. But what about lifting for yourself in 2026 and beyond? What goals do you have?
Yeah, so well, I wanted to do the Faroe Islands next.
Oh,
So
wow.
as I mentioned there, so there's the other place that just has big, heavy stones that you
Mm-hmm.
have lift. And as I mentioned, feeling my mortality, and I was really strong in Ireland, so I'm like, I want to do that while I can. So Faroe Islands was gonna be next, but then I had the opportunity with Jamie McGregor to do his final stone tour in Iceland. So I joined up with that next summer. So quick detour to Iceland
Wow.
next summer. Um, and there's 8 of us, so that's gonna be a different experience because before it was just me and him, and then Max O'Meara was filming it, and then some of the locals who met up with us. But this is gonna be 8 of us all touring together, so that'll be a different experience to be a part of, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Well,
Um,
definitely have to have you back to speak about both of those experiences because not many people go to the Faroe Islands and have that experience. So I'd love our listeners to
well,
hear about that.
I've got a non-stone lifting friend. She just loves to travel and hike, and she's had the Faroe Islands on her radar for a long time because it's a very challenging place to hike.
Right?
And so we're trying to organize that. So Faroe Islands is going to be Faroe Islands 2027. That's the
That's
current plan.
amazing.
So I'll be able to go with someone, but in a different experience because it won't be a stone tour. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And that's going to be a whole unique style of training because I want to because you have to hike like miles and miles like straight uphill and then lift like 500 pounds. Like that's a whole different animal.
Yeah. Yeah, I there's this stone that Jamie told me about in Scotland that is like half it's called like the Heaven Stone or something like that, and it's like halfway up this like gigantic hill. I don't know how they got the stone up there, but that's one of my goals. So
That's
I'm gonna have to do the same kind of training as you're doing, I think.
Yep. So I'm gonna be doing. So my plan is, yeah, like wear like a weighted vest and like
Yeah,
walk for a couple of miles and then just run right into a
live.
giant stone lift.
Yeah. And that
Yep.
is such a great segue into what I wanted to talk about next is so what does your training look like now? I mean, you say you're kind of doing strongman. You just finished up like we
Just
didn't
finished steel bending.
yeah, steel
I
bending,
just
right?
finished steel bending. Yep. I just finished up steel bending, and that let me tell you that I could see why people who so I've dabbled in steel bending for a while. It's kind of something fun to do on the side. I really like long steel bending, but I've never really dedicated myself to short steel. It's exactly what it sounds like. Long steel or big long pieces. Short steel is like nails. Um, and I never really dedicated myself to it. So it was good to just take the opportunity to really focus on that for a while to
Yeah.
finally just like because I never felt like I was strong enough at anything because I didn't have the technique. So it was nice to finally dedicate to that and say like, oh yeah, turns out if you practice something, you're pretty good at it, right? Who knew? So it was good to like actually like focus on that for a while and really see what I could do with it. But boy, let me tell you, I can see why people who focus on steel bending only focus on steel bending. The fatigue on that is just next level. Like it's absolutely wipes you out. Like just
Yeah.
a couple weeks of bending different styles even 3 times a week and just like that was tanking in my performance because I needed a deload. Like I
Wow.
don't really I don't take deload weeks in my training. I stagger like my deload lifts. Like I deadlift. Typically it's deadlift, squat, press, rotation in my training, and I'll basically like have a light week on deadlifts and then heavy on the other two, and then like heavy on deadlifts and heavy on press and then light on the squats. So I sort of stagger my deload so I never have to just like deload all the time. But doing steel bending, you had to just like, take a week off just to recover. So I'll be putting that on the side on the back burner. And I literally just did that. Like I got back from that like 3 days ago. Um, so what I expect my training to look like, I've got a coach, so I get to outsource all that. But I expect it to look similar to what I did for Ireland, which
Okay.
is oh, this is something good that I want to talk about is so I typically train 3 times a week, as I mentioned. I do deadlift day, a squat day, and a press day. There's more nuance to what those are in there, but that's generally how it is. Like I rotate exercises on all of
Okay.
those. Like I don't just deadlift from the floor every week. I'll do like Ukrainians. I'll do like half style lifting, like plate lifts. I'll do deadlifts for different heights, and then sort of rotate those on my deadlift day, and then same with squats, and then same with my whatever press movement I'm doing. Lots of back every day. Got to do your back every day. But what I did for Ireland, which I hadn't done before, is I did extra workouts. So it's a West Side concept, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You on your days off, which you would normally do on your days off, you just do like 2 or 3 sets of an exercise that you can't fit in elsewhere. So for me,
Okay.
so I did very little actual stone training for Ireland. It was mostly barbell work and gym work. And where I got my stone training is I would just do an extra workout. So I would just go out to the garage on a non-lifting day and lift like my stone 3 times. And like that was it. Like I'd just do my heavy half lift,
Yeah.
then I'd put a plate on it to change the balance point, do another heavy half lift, move it again, do a heavy half lift, and that's my extra workout. And I did that with a few other stones too to get my hands on stones. And then I would also do things like pull-ups, just do like a bunch of sets of pull-ups assisted to just, again, it's not supposed to be heavy. It's an extra workout. You're not trying to add any fatigue to your life. You're just trying to work these muscles. And then shrugs, because you never have enough time on your workout day. You can't, after like 3 accessories, you're sort of wasting your time at that point. I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm just old, but like I can't do like 6 exercises in a workout. So I never had time to do shrugs. So I would just go out and just do like a few, like I said, 3 sets of 10 shrugs, and then like a few sets of pull-ups, and then boom, that's it. And that's the entire workout. So half an hour, like don't try to hard cut off at 45 minutes. Like it's just a quick out. Like I do that after my son goes to bed, just pop out to the garage, do what I need to do out there, and then still have time to like finish cleaning up and, get ready for bed.
Yeah.
Big fan of extra workouts. And so I highly recommend those. I had done those for Ireland, and I was the strongest I've ever been, like going into Ireland. So it's a big fan of that. So my plan for Iceland is to do something similar.
Okay.
And the big thing for Iceland is I got to do Husafell carries, and I hate carries. I really hate carries, so I'm going to be doing those, working those in. So I'm guessing that'll be one whole day. Well, that'll be a main lift that I'll focus on. But I'll be definitely including extras again. That was a huge, huge success to get those like I said, those. And I'm going to be doing glute ham raises this time. That's because
Okay.
I think so. What I'm weak at in stones is that final oomph to stand up, that final bit of chesting. Like I can get it to my lat, I can get it off the ground. I can get anything off the ground. I can get it. I focus heavily on my grip for Ireland as well. I recommend doing like pull-ups on the top of the rack so you can get that and work. You can also work your pinch like that, and then any kind of heavy, and then getting your wrist in there too. So like thick bar curls, so you
Mm-hmm.
can that you have to hold with your wrist bent, because as you know, your wrist, like Atlas stones, right? It's all
Yeah.
wrist. That's what's going to hold you back. So work on those.
So you're preparing for your next couple big trips, but what I'm kind of wondering as we near the end of this is what You've talked about all of the good things that we need to add to a strength training program for stones, grip, um, various lifts, and that kind of thing. But what do you think that one of the mistakes that you see in new lifters that they make constantly, like it, and maybe trying to advise that they avoid?
So I get a number of people that reach out to me about lifting the Dinnies, which is great. If anyone who sees this, feel free to fire me off any questions. I'm happy to answer them. And one of the things that I always recommend is keeping up. I think people switch to just doing like Dinnie lifts too early in their training cycle for the Dinnies. Like I'm a big proponent, and so is my coach, coincidentally. Like a big proponent of your barbell lifts to maintain like a strength base before you specialize. I mean, I mentioned it for Ireland. Like I did fairly little stone lifting.
Hmm.
But then when I did start to really add in stones, it was sort of at the end, almost like technique work. But like do your deadlifts, do your squats, do your squats. And so I really recommend people focus on their barbell lifts and just being strong, because that's going to carry over to anything. Just
Hmm.
being strong is going to work on any lift. And then sort of as you peak, like at the very end of your training, then I think you can really do like just stones. And again, you should drop things only as necessary to manage your fatigue, right? So
Right.
like I want to add in, I'm peaking for my stone lift, so I want to add, or peaking for my stone tour, so I want to add in a bunch of stones. Well, you can't just add in a bunch of exercises, right? Otherwise you've been under training the whole time. So you have to drop something. And so
Yeah.
that's when I think you can start dropping your and again, drop your accessories first, then drop your barbell lifts. But like that's when I think it's like, okay, I don't need to deadlift heavy anymore because I'm lifting heavy stones like once a week, right? And so, but yeah, I think that's a trap that some new lifters fall into is, because what do people post, right? You post your cool stone lifts, right? I don't post my, I don't post my 5x5 box squats, right?
Yeah.
And so I think people lose out on that strength base too early or worry about technique too early when you just need strength.
What about how do you fit grip in? Because that's something that I've just started to, well, and breast work fit into my program. How do you fit it in?
So I do in my accessories. So
Yeah.
I do a lot of what really most of my grip work, but what really fixed. So the very first time I got my Atlas stones, I could barely pick them up because I didn't have any wrist strength. And what I really worked on is so I do napalm monster curls.
Okay.
So it's from Arm Assassin. So they use their napalm handles, which are the rotating handles, and it was the version invented by um, Monster Michael Todd, an arm wrestler. So that's how we get the Monster Napalm curl bar. But it's a curl bar, but it's got rotating thick handles on it, and
Okay.
then it's above the bar. So you have to hold. So I cock my wrists on that, and I do curls with that. So what I really think matters, and I think especially for stones, but I think for grip in general, is work your grip while doing another lift. So like because I think just doing like a wrist curl
Mhm.
is fine. Like, it's not going to hurt you. Like you'll get stronger that way. But I think holding your wrists strong in a like cocked position while doing curls and like so now it's doing something different. Now your wrist is stabilizing and holding, which again is what you do in stones, right? Your wrist
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
you're not wrist curling up the stone, you're holding the stone. And then while it's working on your other muscles, the other muscles are working. So I also highly recommend I think I mentioned it, but like flat grip pull-ups. So go to the top of
Hmm.
your squat rack and then just put your hands on the flat part and do pull-ups like that. Again, assisted. And then you can, because what's your pull-up strength is probably going to be what limits you, not your grip strength. So you're sort of just getting in the extra grip work there. So I love doing, so my grip work is mostly just like built into my other accessories. Like I'll do curls, I'll do rows, like I'll do like fat bar, like thick rotating handle, and then just do rows like that. And so, because again, I really like moving other muscles and not just the wrist. So I
Right.
actually do very little like wrist curls or just like grip pickups anymore. I do other exercises that force the grip and wrist to work.
And so, okay, before we get into our final question that I ask every guest, is there anything that we have not talked about? I think one thing we didn't speak about was the Gemütlichkeit.
Yeah.
We need to talk about
There's
that.
the hat. There's the hat.
Yes, we need to talk about that. And that's put on by Sean Urquhart, right?
Yep. So it's Sean and another fellow run it. So yeah, it's at the Columbus Oktoberfest. Fantastic. It's extraordinarily. It's a terrific experience. So it's
Hmm.
a full strongman show, and the crowd is just like the crowd is right on top of you. You're like in a small like state fair like fairgrounds like amphitheater. So like we're gonna do like the bird shows, right? But you're like doing strongman like right there. So the
Yeah.
crowd is just right on top of you. It's Ohio, so it's a strength capital of the U.S. So it's an
Yes.
educated crowd, and they're drinking, and you're like the entertainment, like you're one of the key entertainments. Like the festival really likes strongman. The grandfather of the guy, so the guy who started the festival, and the grandfather, he really liked stone lifting. He wanted that part of his like festival, that is Oktoberfest that he put on, and so that eventually evolved into this like whole strongman show. So there's
Wow.
a history with lifting there too. And it's just the crowd's right on top of you. They're super supportive. They're super energetic, and it's a well-run show. Like they, run you through the events. Everyone's organized. They get you there, so you're in and out. The whole event is done in an hour. There's a ton of competitors. Like that year was the smallest year they've ever had, and I think it was like 20 competitors. There's usually upwards of like 30 something, and they get you through. And then the Keystone event is the Bavarian Steinhaben.
Yeah.
So it's got this 506-pound stone inside like this apparatus. I don't know, it's like this deadlift apparatus. It's like a Ukrainian deadlift apparatus, but like you have to get it, and um, that's actually what got me. So like my training, I did all free handle uh, lifts. Like I just grabbed a handle, stuck it on some loading pin, and lifted my plates. But the actual lift is more like just the comparison would be like a Smith machine, right? Because it's on this
Yeah.
machine, so you can't move it forward and backward. It goes straight up and down,
Yeah.
and that's it. And so I misaligned my body position, and so I was unable to get it. But since I pulled from below my shoes, I actually, and I'm very tall, I actually saw up getting like seventh in that event, because it's unlike any other stone lift or any other lift that I've seen, in that your score is the distance that you pull it. So it's not about, because the weight is 506, it's not about reps, it's about how far do you pull it. So that's why everyone's trying to pull from like below their shoes,
Hmm.
because then you can get a longer lift. And then when you get to the top, you want to try and like hike, sort of like put it on your like legs, and you try to like shrug, bounce and shrug it to try and get as much get as high as you possibly can to get a full um it's a full 100 centimeters, a full meter. Here it's 80 centimeters, because we want it to be a little more accessible, and that's
Yeah.
considered a full lift. But the way we did it was just for who got the largest height, who got the longest pull. So yeah, despite the fact that I couldn't get past my knees, I still got like seventh place,
That's
because
incredible.
I pulled it from so low.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember watching you prep for that, on your Instagrams. That's one event that I wanna go down to. I don't think they had any women sh
They didn't. It's just a pure open,
yeah, right.
so anyone can do it.
Yeah,
So you theoretically women could do it, but the
yeah,
weights are going to be what they are.
yeah.
Like I
No,
couldn't even like I pass on the precedent, because I'm not pressing a 300 pound.
yeah. But that's definitely an event I want to go down and take in, for sure.
Yeah, and it's incredible. So that's at 7 p.m. in the main beer tent. So
Wow.
like that's what's happening. So everyone is there, everyone is hammered, everyone is watching you. Like that is an energetic crowd, let me tell you.
And that's why I like for our event that we have in here for Stones of Strength, it's like the opening of the beer tent and we're right beside the beer tent. And
Yeah.
I love that. I love the crowd.
Yeah.
And it makes it interesting because a lot of them think that they can come up and just like lift it. But that's why we have
That's That's the
Insurance.
fundamental. That's how stone lifting started. I'm
It
telling you,
is.
drunk people lifting rock, right?
Oh my
That's a
gosh.
core part of the tradition.
So this has went the gamut of everything, and I have absolutely enjoyed every moment of this discussion. But as usual, I have a question that I ask every guest, and it's give us three pieces of advice, whether it be stone lifting, life in general, etc. Normally, it's stone lifting or strength related, but three pieces of advice.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this. The first one, I think, is advice that everyone gives, but I think it's really important, and I've got a way I like to phrase it. But like, just do something. Like, if you're thinking about trying something, and this can go in anything, right? This is like, oh, I want to take up a new sport. Like, oh, I want to try jujitsu, but I haven't been, I'm almost 40, right? And everyone there has been doing it for a long time. Just do it. Or it could apply to your current training. Like, oh, I've always thought about like doing, this in my, or I thought about trying, intermittent fasting. Well, just try it. See how it works. Just try it. And like what I always say is phrases like, let's say I'm 39, right? So let's say I want to start jujitsu. Yeah, I can't like go back in time and have been doing jujitsu since I was a teenager. Like I can't, right? Time travel doesn't exist yet. So, but next year I'm going to be 40 no matter what. So I can be 40 with 0 years of jujitsu training, or I can be 40 with 1 year of jujitsu training. Those are my two choices, right? So if you want to do it because that's it. Like you can't, that's your only choice.
Yep. Yep. Just do it.
And then the other piece of advice is this is a very hard piece of advice is I think people should do a squat only cycle sometime in their training. Nothing has taught me how to manage fatigue and warm up like my squat only cycle. Like before I did that, I was that guy who would load, a 5 pounder, do some squats, load another 5 pounder, do some squats, 5 pounder, do some squats, and like ran and do like a million warm-ups. But when you're only squatting 4 times a week, those every warm-up set you do is is just destroys your fatigue. So you
Yes.
cut back on warm-ups so hard, and you've learned what your body can get away with. And that I think is really important on a stone tour because you jump out of the car and have to lift a rock, right? Like
Yes.
you've been lifting all day and now you've been sitting for 2 hours and now you have to do a maximal lift. Like you need to know what is the minimum your body can get away with that to lift that rock. And nothing prepped me for that like doing squats only.
That's incredible. Did you drink a
Plus,
gallon of milk as well at that point or no?
well, I do that all the time anyway. If you want
Okay.
to talk diet, I drink 2 things of Fairlife every day,
Oh my
and that's how
God.
I can get. That's how I can get my. People want to ask. It always goes over the internet. How do you get in 250 grams of protein every day? That's how. So yes,
Tip
drink a gallon
learned
of milk.
here. Oh my God. Okay. Third piece.
Third piece of advice:
Hmm.
if get enough sleep, and that means going and getting a sleep study and getting your CPAP machine if you're worried about it. Like I think I got a CPAP. I think a lot of people are really embarrassed about the idea of needing a CPAP machine, but it is, I know everyone says this, but it is life changing. Like I was
Wow.
tired all the time before, drinking caffeine. Like I had all this stuff like, oh, if I'm too tired, I slump and it causes like nerve pinching and my hands get numb. None of that since getting my CPAP. I'm sleeping enough. So if you're not sure if you need it, just go get a sleep study and do that because nothing, absolutely nothing changes. Like sleep isn't going to make your problem, isn't going to solve all your problems, but not sleeping enough makes all of your problems worse. Goes across every aspect of your life.
It really does. It really
So
does.
get enough sleep, prioritize your sleep, and that means getting medical intervention, do it.
Well, Mark, these are great pieces of advice, and I thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today about all
I
of
knew
your
I knew we'd max out the
stories.
time slot. I
Like,
told
we
you.
totally, I mean, no, like I I had more questions, but I felt like we're going on 2 hours now, and I think that we both are like
Are we gonna wrap up?
yeah. So, no, all amazing stories. I think you've given a lot of points here for our listeners to take away, and I really hope that it informs them of their potential Dinny lift or a trip to Ireland or Scotland, even heading out down to see the folks in New England or Utah or any of the US states
I hadn't even
on
talked about Utah. I wanna do that too.
right? Yeah, I wanna go down to Utah too. I need to see Hannah Lindsay, see her do her amazing work that she's doing down there. But no, thank you for everything this evening, and looking forward to having you back after your next couple trips. And yeah, have a
An
great
eventful
night.
summer.
And Sláinte, we'll see you again. Take care.